Oh my god, here we are. This is the RetroTech 120p challenge, and I have selected the guy that looks like Hulk Hogan, as you knew I would. My name is Jay as Manchild, and yes, you should indeed join the RetroTech 100 community so you can play games such as Vendetta, the game we're playing here. You might think I'm pretty good at this game from the first couple of minutes, but you'll soon discover I'm not. But there are a few tricks you can do. I think I'll be one of the first people to upload this week, so watch this. Look at that. There you go. There's an early little indicator on what you should do for the first 4 enemies you encounter. I have covered this game at length as one of my first videos because it is my belief that this game is one of the most underrated beat-em-ups in history. It literally never gets mentioned when people talk about the really good scrolling beat-em-ups. When people talk about, you know, Final Fight, Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, Turtles in Time, all of those. This was Konami's best beat-em-up by quite a significant distance. It's a game, a follow-on actually. It's a sequel to an earlier game called Crime Fighters, which was bastard hard and had much smaller sprites. And it was 4 players, much like this is. But all the characters in that were just sort of men in shirts and chinos. And they were the same, but they were just slightly different colours. This one, they went, you know what, let's just rip off internationally famous figures. And apparently, well, as you can see, this guy, very clear who he's based on is Hulk Hogan there with some nice torn jeans. The teenagers will appreciate that little fashion choice there. There is also, who I select a bit later on, a guy who looks just like Mr. T. And the other 2 guys are a little bit harder to define who they are, but apparently they're supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme and Mike Tyson, but I wouldn't say they look like either. In fact, I surmised in my video of Vendetta, which, as I say, was one of the first videos I did on my channel, I surmised that he looked a bit like Ray Charles, but only in the character select bit. But yeah, you can see, you think of here. But there's so many little clever things in this game. Like, look, you can use this bit of flour here, much like the salt in Streets of Rage. It temporarily disables your opponent. I don't know if you noticed there, some graffiti for Kilroy. So the programmers of Vendetta were big fans of late 80s talk shows, morning talk shows on the BBC, which is bizarre. So yeah, bit Kilroy fans. Very short one from the look of where that was. I make a lot of these jokes in the video, which I mentioned too many times already. I like the vomit, by the way. That was good. This is, I think this was the first indication I had that this was the sequel to Crime Fighters, because this guy appears in Crime Fighters as he has a, what does he have? He has an axe or something. I can't remember now. Might even be a chainsaw, actually. No, it might have been a chainsaw. He's got a buzzsaw here. Allow me to clear my throat. Might be COVID this time. And yeah, and I like the background here because it's basically the first bit of the game we were in, just looped around like an old cartoon. Yes, in Japan, this was known as Crime Fighters 2, I believe. But yeah, none of the original characters come back in terms of the original heroes. Whether they were assassinated or not, I don't know. I don't know the lore of Crime Fighters. I did do a video on that as well, which I will put a link to up there. And I did do a link to Vendetta probably a bit earlier on. But, yes, I chose this because, as I say, it is one of my favourite beat-em-ups. Just a reminder, join the RetroTech 100 group, play the 20p challenge where you have to get as far as you can on 2 credits. I think I did okay this week. There's so many little things you can do, like you can kick them when they're down, which is not honourable, I must admit. Or this, I do elbow drops on them, because that's what a wrestler would do. Look, and I elbow dropped him to death. Really, this character should leg drop him to finish him off. And wrestling fans will know why that is. I've almost put a wrestling game in here on the sly, haven't I? That, by the way, I think is based on Bruiser Brody. That guy who just came up there. A very famous wrestler who had one of the more unfortunate ends. And this is why this game is really cool, because you get guns. Look at that. I've got a shotgun. Beat that, bloody Streets of Rage, Blaze Fielding. Where's my remake of Vendetta, eh? But yeah, it's such a solid little title. There's so many little things you can do. It takes the basically it's got like the music sounds a lot like all the Turtles games. It's very Konami-esque music with a dum and all that malarkey. But it takes all the tricks in the Turtles game and adds extra stuff to it. It plays very much like the Turtles game. You've got like a button to punch and kick instead of punch and jump, but in terms of things like throwing them into the screen and the grapple mechanics, they're very similar. But you get these weapons like this, look, where you can smash them against the wall. I think that's pretty damn cool. And yeah, I'm still doing really well at this point. But it doesn't continue that much longer. Yeah, the choice of weapons in this game as well, there's so many little tricks and little weapons. You've got the Molotov cocktail. Is that how you say that? I've always wondered. Molotov? I'm going to go Molotov. Which you could throw at people. Slime balls are all okay. Yeah, I'm fighting a sort of a fat Rey Mysterio here. Very overweight there for a luchador. But he knows how to block my wrestling moves, as you can see. But yeah, a very good game this, as I've said 100 times already. And I hope that some of the people that are playing this for the first time as part of the challenge, they get to see how good this game is. Because for me, it was something we had in our local video shop. Oh, watch out for this weapon, by the way. This is a brilliant little weapon. I try and lure him in a bit. And you pick up the bucket and you throw it on his head and he leaves you alone for a bit. But yeah, you can use like things from the background. Like you saw probably earlier where I kicked down the scaffolding. It's a neat little game. It really is. So at the moment I'm, as I say, the Hulk Hogan character. He's got a little bit more hair than the Hulkster. Even in his pomp, Hulk Hogan had a rather shiny scalp, I'm afraid. You can whip people with chains. I can confirm that isn't in the Hulk Hogan's sex video. Have I watched it? I've watched bits of it. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of it. I mean, the lady in the video, she was a very attractive young lady. Someone's wife. His friend Bubba the Love Sponge. That's probably a bit of a dead end that I should stop talking about. Anyway, Joe Shogi here is our first real difficult opponent because he jumps around a lot. I think he looks a bit like Sex Machine out of From Dusk Till Dawn. That guy, you know, the makeup guy, whose name temporarily escapes me, and maybe if I'm feeling wonderful I'll put his name up on the screen because you're probably screaming at me at the moment. He basically does a lot of the makeup in like zombie films and things. He doesn't even look that much like him, if I'm being honest. He, I think, is also in Crime Fighters, from what I remember, along with the boss of this level. He's got his shurikens, and you can elbow drop him in the arse, which is always good. Just like every Capcom, Konami beat 'em up, you have to have a level set on scaffolding. Always wrong uns on scaffolding, don't you know? Peering down the tops of ladies. And a good thrusting punch there from our yellow bananaed upper-lipped protagonist has ended his reign, Mr. Joe. I should really do a lot better here, by the way, as I get hit by both fat people and a man with the log. And the good thing about it as well, there's no time limit. A lot of these arcade beat-em-ups would have a time limit, and you can plan out your strategies accordingly without having to worry too much. Watch this. Then you got the little painter's table, decorator's table, and that's just landed on that Motley Crue fan there with his baseball bat. Baseball bat, very useful weapon in this game. Probably the most seen weapon after like just boxes that you can hurl at people's heads, I'd say. I will get to a bit in a minute which is very tricky, which is our encounter with the Brody type, and you'll see that my luck sort of comes to an end a little bit because he gives me a few issues, so he does. There's these chain dudes, and also I'll tell you about another thing in a second or in a little while, because there were differences, let's say, which I talk about more in my Vendetta video, but there were differences between the US release and the European release and the Japanese release, and they were quite controversial differences, and they do bear certain similarities to, there was a character in Streets of Rage who anyway, we'll get there in a minute. This is the Bruiser Brody type character. So yeah, I talked about the Bruiser Brody situation a bit earlier on. He was a very famous wrestler in Japan. He was an American. Oh no, he was Australian actually. And I watched a video of him recently about him, which was called Dark Side of the Ring, and it showed you that he got on the wrong side of some wrestlers in Japan. I think it was Japan, and he basically got stabbed. Actually, it might have been Cuba or somewhere like that. Again, I'll put the name up on the screen. Anyway, it's first continued on, but basically he got stabbed and murdered, and they covered it up. And there are some really fascinating stories about kind of what happens behind the scenes in wrestling, and I think even if you're not a wrestling fan, watch that show, because it is genuinely horrible, some of the people that are involved with it. It's Dark Side of the Ring. Bouncing about on your thorax, that's got to be sore for the old spine. Watch yourself, you only get one of them. As you can see, Bruiser Brody there unfortunately took an entire character to continue and a life of the next character, which I chose, which is Mr. T fella. And this is the interesting bit that I wanted to talk about, which is stage 3. And in a minute we'll get a little box out in the top corner which shows a bit from my review where I talk about the differences. Now on this level, with Sod It written in the background, I say that quite a bit. This guy gives me too much problem, by the way. But on this level, you do encounter, and this, the standard guys with the chains who we've already met that whip you. In the Japanese one, there is a very overtly homosexual stereotype who his attack basically consists of trying to dry hump you. And when he can't get to you, and there it is, there's the box out there, if he can't reach you, there's his dry humping Mr. T there, he will try and dry hump the lamppost. Anyway, that's the end of the video, that's the end of my challenge. I didn't do very well. Go and have a look at my Vendetta video, because I think it's pretty good. Just a reminder, join the RetroTech 100 group, play the 20p challenge where you have to get as far as you can on 2 credits. I think I did okay this week. And Keith, thanks.